Captain Tai-ho Park gripped the edge of the command console as another explosion rocked the Dauntless Asterisk. The ship's lights flickered, bathing the bridge in an eerie red glow before stabilizing again. On the main screen, he watched as the human colony New Hope disappeared in a flash of light. "New Hope has fallen," said Ji-woo Kim, his second in command. Her voice was steady, but her knuckles were white as she clutched her tablet. "That's the 17th colony this month." Tai-ho nodded grimly. "How many ships did we lose?" "All of them," Ji-woo replied. "Defensive Fleet 6 is completely gone." The bridge fell silent. Everyone knew what this meant. The Nexus Imperium had destroyed another human settlement, and now nothing stood between them and Earth except the Dauntless Asterisk. Tai-ho looked around at his crew. Their faces showed fear, but also determination. They had been running for 3 weeks, fighting when they could, retreating when they had to. The Dauntless Asterisk was humanity's newest and most advanced warship, but it was just one vessel against hundreds. "Status report," Tai-ho ordered, his voice cutting through the heavy silence. Officer Dong-min Lee responded from the weapons station. "Main cannon at 64% capacity. Shield generators holding at 58%. We lost 2 missile bays in the last attack." "Engine room reports all drives functional but stressed," added engineer Hyun-woo Kang over the comm system. "We can make one more jump if needed, but the cooling systems need time to recover." Tai-ho turned to Dr. Soo Min-yoon, who stood quietly near the science station. Her eyes met his, and a silent understanding passed between them. She was the creator of the ship's most classified system, the one weapon that might save humanity. "Doctor, is the Singularity Drive ready?" he asked quietly. "Yes," she replied, pushing her glasses up her nose. "But Captain, you know using it is a one-way trip. The technology is still experimental." Before Tai-ho could respond, the communications officer called out, "Incoming transmission from Earth Command." The main screen changed to show the tired face of Admiral Jun Seo-cho. His uniform was wrinkled, and dark circles hung under his eyes. "Captain Park," the Admiral said, "I have new orders for you. The Council has made its decision. You are to return to Earth immediately for our final defense." Tai-ho frowned. "With respect, Admiral, if we retreat now, we give the Nexus a clear path to Earth. We should make our stand here, where we still have room to maneuver." The Admiral's face hardened. "These orders come directly from the Council, Captain. Earth needs the Dauntless Asterisk for our last line of defense." "By then it will be too late," Tai-ho argued. "The Nexus fleet is gathering for their final push. If we strike now, while they're still consolidating their forces, we have a chance to stop them." "A chance?" the Admiral scoffed. "One ship against their entire armada. It's suicide, Tai-ho." "Perhaps," Tai-ho admitted, "but I believe in this ship and this crew, and I believe in the Singularity Drive." At the mention of the classified technology, the Admiral's eyes widened. "That system hasn't been properly tested in combat conditions. The risks are greater than the risk of losing Earth." Tai-ho finished for him. "We're out of options, sir." The bridge was silent as the Admiral considered this. Finally, he sighed heavily. "Very well, Captain. You have 12 hours to make your attempt. If you fail, the Dauntless Asterisk must return to Earth immediately." "That's a direct order." "Understood, Admiral. We won't fail." After the transmission ended, Ji-woo stepped closer to Tai-ho. "You realize what you've just committed us to, right?" Tai-ho nodded. "Gather the senior officers in the war room. We need to plan this perfectly." 10 minutes later, Tai-ho stood before his core team. Ji-woo Kim, Dr. Soo Min-yoon, Engineer Hyun-woo Kang, Security Chief Dae-jung Choi, and Tactical Officer Dong-min Lee. The holographic display in the center of the table showed the positions of the Nexus fleet. "The Nexus Imperium has systematically destroyed our colonies for one reason," Tai-ho began. "They fear human expansion. Their coalition of 7 species believes we are an existential threat. Yet they're the ones killing us. Dajung said bitterly. The security chief's home colony had been one of the first to fall. Fear makes people dangerous, Su-min commented. Even aliens. Taiho pointed to the largest cluster of enemy ships on the display. Our intelligence suggests this is their command vessel, the heart of their fleet operations. If we can take it out, their attack will fall into disarray. With what? Dongmin asked. Our conventional weapons can't penetrate their defenses, and we're outnumbered at least 50-1. Taiho looked at Su-min and nodded. She stepped forward, her hand shaking slightly as she adjusted the display to show the Dauntless most secret weapon. This is the Singularity Drive, she explained, a contained artificial black hole that can manipulate the fundamental forces of reality. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. The drive creates a localized field where physics changes, Su-min continued. Gravity, electromagnetism, the strong and weak nuclear forces all become malleable within our control. You're talking about warping reality itself, Hyunwoo said, his voice barely above a whisper. Su-min nodded. Exactly. In theory, we can disrupt their ship's structural integrity, weapons systems, and even their biological functions. In theory, Dajung raised an eyebrow. It's never been deployed in actual combat, Su-min admitted. The potential risks are significant. What kind of risks? Ji-woo asked. Su-min took a deep breath. If the containment field fails, we could create an expanding singularity that consumes the ship and potentially much more. You're talking about creating a black hole, Dongmin said, his face pale. A controlled one, Su-min corrected. But yes. Taiho watched his officers' reactions carefully. I won't order anyone to stay for this mission. It's volunteer only. We'll evacuate all non-essential personnel to escape pods before we engage. For a moment, no one spoke. Then Ji-woo straightened her shoulders. I'm staying. As am I, Su-min said. The drive needs my expertise. One by one, each officer nodded their agreement. Taiho felt a surge of pride. Thank you. Now, here's the plan. 3 hours later, the Dauntless moved silently through space, its advanced stealth systems making it nearly invisible to Nexus sensors. Behind them, 20 escape pods carried most of the crew safely away, heading for the Beta Hydri relay station. On the bridge, the skeleton crew of 8 people prepared for what might be their final mission. Enemy fleet in visual range, Ji-woo reported. They haven't detected us yet. Taiho studied the tactical display. The Nexus ships were arranged in a defensive formation around their massive command vessel. The alien ship was unlike anything humans had built, part organic, part technological, with strange, flowing lines that seemed to pulse with inner light. SEONG, status report. Taiho called to the ship's eye. A holographic figure appeared beside him. Seoengi, the quantum intelligence that helped run the Dauntless complex systems. All systems operational, Captain. Singularity Drive is at 94% charge and rising. How long until full charge? Taiho asked. Approximately 17 minutes. Seoengi replied. I should note that enemy patrol craft are running routine scan patterns at 12-minute intervals. Taiho exchanged glances with Ji-woo. It's going to be close. We need to get within 5,000 kilometers of their command ship for maximum effect. Su-min said from her station. Any farther, and the singularity field will weaken exponentially. Dongmin, plot an approach vector that keeps us in the sensor shadows of their larger vessels. Taiho ordered. Dajung, prepare defensive countermeasures. If they spot us before we're ready, we'll need every advantage. The ship moved forward slowly, weaving through the enemy formation like a ghost. The tension on the bridge grew with each passing minute. Singularity Drive at 97% charge, Sethionji announced. Enemy patrol changing course, Jiwoo warned. They'll cross our path in 30 seconds. Hold position. Taiho ordered. Power down non-essential systems. The Dauntless went dark, floating motionless as the alien patrol craft passed less than a kilometer away. For a heart-stopping moment, it seemed certain they would be discovered. They're continuing on their route, Jiwoo whispered. They didn't see us. A collective sigh of relief passed through the bridge. Resume approach, Taiho commanded. Distance to target. 7,000 kilometers and closing, Dongmin reported. Suddenly, alarms blared across the bridge. We've been detected, Jiwoo shouted. Multiple enemy vessels changing course to intercept. How? Taiho demanded. Unknown, Seiyuan replied. Possibly a random deep scan sweep. Time to target distance. Taiho asked urgently. 2 minutes at current speed, Dongmin answered. And the singularity drive. Fully charged, Su-min reported. Ready on your command. Enemy weapons locking on, Dajung warned. Impact in 10 seconds. Evasive maneuvers. Taiho ordered. Get us to that command ship. The Dauntless lurched forward, engines screaming as Hyunwoo pushed them beyond safety limits. Energy beams streaked past them, one grazing their starboard shield. Shields at 43%. Jiwoo called out. Another hit rocked the ship violently. Warning lights flashed across multiple consoles. Breach on deck 4, Dajung reported. Emergency bulkheads engage. Distance to target, Taiho demanded, gripping his chair as the ship shuddered under another impact. 5,200 kilometers. Dongmin answered. Close enough, Su-min said. We're in range. A massive blast struck the Dauntless, knocking out the main lights. For a moment, only emergency systems illuminated the bridge. Shields failing, Jiwoo shouted over the noise of buckling metal. Taiho looked at the tactical display one last time. The image of Earth appeared, a small blue dot several light years distant. Everything he had ever known, everyone he had ever loved, was there. For humanity, he whispered. Then, louder. Dr. Yoon, activate the singularity drive. Execute Thunderbolt protocol. Su-min's fingers flew across her console. Thunderbolt protocol initiated. May the stars have mercy on us all. A terrible silence fell over the bridge of the Dauntless as Su-min activated the singularity drive. For one breath-stopping moment, nothing happened. Then, the ship's lights dimmed completely before surging back with blinding brightness. Status report, Taiho commanded, his voice steady despite the fear gripping his chest. Singularity containment field stable at 92%. Su-min reported, her eyes fixed on the reading scrolling across her screen. Phase 1 beginning now. The Dauntless shuddered, but not from enemy fire. It was as if the ship itself was struggling to contain the impossible forces now awakening within its core. What's happening? Jiwoo asked, looking at the main view screen. Outside, space itself seemed to warp around them. The stars stretched into long streaks of light, bending inward toward the ship as if being pulled by an invisible hand. The artificial singularity is creating a localized gravitational field, Su-min explained, her voice filled with both fear and wonder. We're bending space-time. Hyunwoo's voice came over the comm from engineering. Core temperature rising. Cooling systems at maximum capacity. In the ship's central chamber, the singularity drive pulsed with dark energy. The circular device was surrounded by massive containment rings, each glowing with an eerie blue light. Engineers worked frantically at control stations, their faces illuminated by warning lights. Proceed to Phase 2, Taiho ordered. Su-min nodded and entered a complex sequence of commands, expanding effect radius now. On the tactical display, they watched as the nearest Nexus ships began to react strangely. The smaller vessels closest to the Dauntless started to drift off course, their engines seemingly unable to compensate for the gravitational distortions. "It's working," Jiwoo whispered, her eyes wide. Dong Min checked his readings. "Enemy weapon systems are going offline. Their targeting sensors can't function properly in the distorted space." Taiho allowed himself a small smile. "Push forward. Target their command ship." The Dauntless moved through the enemy fleet like a shark through a school of fish. The Nexus vessels scattered, their formations breaking apart as their pilots struggled against forces they didn't understand. "Captain, I'm picking up unusual readings from the enemy ships," Jiwoo reported. "Their hulls are experiencing molecular stress. The gravitational field is affecting their structural integrity." On the screen, they watched as the closest alien ship began to deform. Its sleek, curved hull bulged inward in some places and stretched outward in others, as if being molded by invisible hands. "The singularity drive doesn't just affect gravity," Su-min explained. "It's changing how all fundamental forces work in its vicinity. Electromagnetic bonds between atoms, the strong and weak nuclear forces, everything becomes unstable." The alien ship suddenly collapsed in on itself, crumpling like paper before exploding in a burst of light. "One down," Daejung said grimly. "And many more to go," Taiho replied. "How far to the command ship?" 3,000 kilometers and closing," Dongmin answered. "But they've noticed what's happening. The larger ships are trying to move away." Indeed, the massive Nexus command vessel was slowly turning, its organic-looking hull pulsing with energy as it attempted to retreat. "They can run, but they can't hide," Taiho said. "Increase power to the singularity drive. Let's show them what humanity is capable of." Su-min hesitated. "Captain, increasing power will put strain on the containment field. If it fails—" "We all know the risks, Doctor," Taiho said softly. "But right now, that ship represents the greatest threat humanity has ever faced. We need to stop them here." Su-min nodded and adjusted her controls, increasing power to 120% of recommended levels. "May the stars protect us." The effect was immediate and dramatic. The ship groaned as if in pain, metal bulkheads creaking under impossible stresses. The view screen showed space itself seeming to fold around them, light bending in ways that hurt the eyes to watch. "Warning," Tesseong announced, the AI's usually calm voice tinged with urgency. "Hull integrity compromised on decks 3 through 7. Microfractures detected throughout the ship's structure. Seal those sections," Taiho ordered. "Reroute emergency power to structural integrity fields." Hyunwoo's voice crackled over the comm. "Captain, the drive is pulling more power than our systems can safely provide. We're looking at a cascade failure in less than 10 minutes if we maintain this level." "We just need 5, Taiho replied. "Keep it together, Hyunwoo." The Dauntless pushed forward, now just 2,000 kilometers from the command ship. The space between them rippled like water, distorted by the immense gravitational fields emanating from the human vessel. On the Nexus command ship, panic was spreading. The alien vessel's lights flickered as its systems began to fail. Strange bulges appeared in its organic hull as the molecular bonds holding it together weakened under the onslaught of altered physics. "They're trying to communicate," Jiwoo reported suddenly. "We're receiving a transmission." "Put it through," Taiho ordered. The main screen flickered, showing the interior of the alien vessel. The Nexus leaders were tall, slender beings with pale blue skin and large, multifaceted eyes. Their captain spoke in a series of clicks and whistles that the ship's computer translated. "Human vessel, cease your attack," the alien commander demanded, fear evident in its posture. "You are violating the natural laws of the universe. This weapon is an abomination. You destroyed 17 of our colonies," Taiho replied coldly. "You killed millions of innocent people, and now you want mercy." "We acted to protect ourselves," the alien insisted. "Your species spreads like a disease, consuming everything in its path. We saw the future you would bring. You saw wrong, Tai-ho answered. Humanity only wanted peace. You chose war. The alien commander's large eyes blinked rapidly. Stop this attack. We will withdraw from human space. We will negotiate. Tai-ho looked at his crew, seeing the question in their eyes. Could they trust this offer? After so much bloodshed, was peace still possible? Captain, Su-min spoke up urgently. The containment field is dropping below safe levels. We need to shut down the drive soon, or we risk creating an actual black hole. Tai-ho turned back to the screen. Here are our terms. Your fleet will immediately withdraw from human space. You will return any human prisoners, and you will agree to formal peace talks to be conducted on neutral ground. The alien commander conferred with others off-screen, their strange language a blur of clicks and whistles. We agree to your terms, the commander finally said, but you must deactivate your reality warping weapon. Tai-ho nodded slowly. We will begin powering down. But know this, if you break your word, if you threaten humanity again, we have more ships like the Dauntless Asterisk. We will not hesitate to use them. It was a lie, of course. The Dauntless Asterisk was one of a kind, and the Singularity Drive was an experimental prototype. But the aliens didn't need to know that. The commander's alien features twisted in what might have been fear. We understand. We will comply. The transmission ended. Do you think they believed you? Ji-woo asked quietly. They have no choice, Tai-ho replied. They've just witnessed power they never imagined possible. The fear of what else we might have will keep them honest, at least for now. Beginning shutdown sequence, Su-min announced, her fingers moving carefully across her controls. Power levels dropping to 80%, 60%, 40%. As the Singularity Drive powered down, the strange distortions in space around them slowly began to normalize. Stars returned to their proper places, and the crushing pressure on the ship's hull eased. Containment field stabilizing. Su-min reported with relief. We're going to make it. The bridge crew exchanged looks of disbelief and joy. Against all odds, they had survived. More than that, they had won. Send a message to Earth Command, Tai-ho ordered. Tell them the Nexus fleet has agreed to withdraw. The Thunderbolt protocol was successful. And the truth about the Singularity Drive? Ji-woo asked quietly. Tai-ho looked at the damage reports scrolling across his screen. The Dauntless Asterisk had barely survived using the drive once. The containment systems were damaged beyond easy repair, and the power core was deeply destabilized. Tell them the drive needs significant repairs before it can be used again, he said. That's true enough. The rest. We'll figure that out when we get home. As the Dauntless Asterisk limped away from the scene of battle, the Nexus fleet began its retreat. On the bridge, exhausted but triumphant, the small crew watched as their enemies disappeared into the darkness of space. A single warship, Daejung mused, shaking his head in wonder. One ship against an empire. And we won. We won the battle, Tai-ho corrected him. Winning the peace will be harder. But that was a problem for tomorrow. Today, humanity had survived. And in the vastness of space, that was victory enough. 2 weeks had passed since the Dauntless Asterisk faced the Nexus fleet. The damaged warship limped through space toward Earth, its engines running at half power. Inside the ship, the mood was a mix of triumph and anxiety. They had won an impossible victory, but at what cost? Captain Tai-ho sat in his quarters, reviewing damage reports on his tablet. The numbers were not good. The Dauntless Asterisk had suffered severe structural damage. Worse, the Singularity Drive was showing signs of instability. A knock on his door interrupted his thoughts. Enter, he called. Dr. Su-min stepped inside, looking tired. Dark circles hung under her eyes, and her normally neat hair was messy. She had been working nonstop in the engine room since the battle. Captain, we need to talk, she said, taking the seat across from him. It's about the drive. Taiho set down his tablet. How bad is it? Bad, she replied simply. The containment field is weakening. The artificial singularity inside the drive is changing. Changing how? Taiho asked, feeling a chill run down his spine. Su-min rubbed her eyes. It's becoming more active, more unpredictable. The energy readings don't match any of our predictions. It's almost as if it's... She hesitated. As if it's what, doctor? As if it's becoming sentient, she finished. Taiho stared at her. That's impossible. So is bending reality, Su-min countered. Yet that's exactly what we did. She pulled out her own tablet and showed him a series of readings. Look at these energy patterns. They're organized, rhythmic, almost like a heartbeat. Taiho finished for her, his voice barely above a whisper. Before they could discuss it further, the ship's alarm blared. All senior officers to the bridge. Ji-woo's voice came over the comms. Emergency situation. Taiho and Su-min rushed to the bridge. When they arrived, they found the rest of the crew already there, staring at the main view screen with shocked expressions. What's happening? Taiho demanded. Ji-woo turned to him, her face pale. We're detecting a Nexus fleet directly ahead. A big one. The screen showed dozens of alien ships arranged in attack formation. They were directly in the Dauntless's path, blocking the route to Earth. That's impossible, Jung said. They agreed to withdraw. We had a deal. Seems they changed their minds, Taiho said grimly. Or maybe this is a different fleet that didn't get the message. They're hailing us, Ji-woo reported. On screen, Taiho ordered. The image changed to show a Nexus commander, but not the same one they had negotiated with before. This alien was older, with darker blue skin and eyes that seemed to burn with hatred. Human vessel. The alien spoke, its words translated by the computer. I am Supreme Commander Relvalen of the Nexus Imperium. Your trick with the other fleet was clever, but we are not so easily fooled. There was no trick, Taiho replied firmly. We reached an agreement for peace. The alien made a sound that might have been laughter. Peace? With your kind? Your own history shows you cannot be trusted. You develop weapons that break the very laws of reality. You are too dangerous to be allowed to exist. Taiho glanced at his crew, seeing their fear. The Dauntless was in no condition for another battle, especially against a fresh enemy fleet. We don't want to use our weapon again, Taiho said. But we will if forced. A bluff, the alien commander replied. Our scans show your ship is barely functioning. Whatever you did to our other fleet, you cannot do it again. The transmission cut off. They're powering weapons, Dongmin reported, his voice tense. Options? Taiho asked, looking around the bridge. We can't outrun them, Ji-woo said. And our conventional weapons are no match for that many ships. All eyes turned to Su-min. The singularity drive? Taiho asked. She shook her head. In its current state, activating it would be suicide. The containment field is already failing. If we tried to use it again, she didn't need to finish the sentence. Hseong-gi, Taiho called to the ship's eye. Analysis. The holographic figure appeared beside him. Based on current data, our survival probability is less than 8.3%. So we die fighting, Jung said, his hand moving to the weapon at his side. Suddenly, Han-woo's voice came over the comm from engineering. Captain, something's happening with the drive. It's activating on its own. What? Taiho and Su-min exclaimed together. Power levels rising. Seihyo confirmed. The singularity is expanding within the containment field. Su-min rushed to her console. This is impossible. I locked the system down myself. Enemy vessels firing. Ji-woo shouted. The Dauntless rocked as energy beams struck its weakened shields. Warning lights flashed across every console. Shields failing. Dongmin reported. One more hit and He never finished his sentence. A strange, pulsing hum filled the ship, growing louder with each second. The lights flickered, then changed to a deep purple color that none of them had ever seen before. "The drive?" Su Min whispered, staring at her readings. "It's not just active. It's evolving." On the view screen, they watched as space around their ship began to distort again, but differently than before. Instead of bending inward, it seemed to fold outward, creating patterns that hurt the human mind to look at. "What's happening?" Taiho demanded. "I don't know," Su Min admitted. "The singularity is doing something new. It's creating. I think it's creating a temporary pocket universe." Outside, the Nexus ships fired again, but their energy beams curved around the dauntless asterisk, missing it entirely. "Their weapons can't touch us," Ji Woo said in awe. "It's like we're slightly out of phase with normal space." The humming grew louder, and the purple light more intense. Strange symbols appeared on every screen, scrolling too fast to read. "Seoing, what are these?" Taiho asked the eye. "Unknown," Seoing replied, its voice sounding different, almost harmonizing with the hum. "They appear to be mathematical equations describing states of reality that shouldn't be possible." The ship shuddered, but not from enemy fire. It felt as if the dauntless asterisk itself was changing, adapting to the new physics created by the drive. "The singularity," Su Min said, her voice filled with wonder and fear. "It's not just a hole in space. It's a doorway to somewhere else. And something is coming through." As if responding to her words, the humming peaked, and a blinding flash of purple light engulfed the bridge. When it faded, everyone stared in shock at what they saw. In the center of the bridge stood a figure made of swirling darkness and pinpoints of light, like a piece of the night sky given human form. It had no clear features, yet somehow they all sensed it was looking at them. "What is that?" Ji Woo whispered. "Not what," the figure spoke, its voice echoing strangely in their minds rather than their ears. "Gu. Identify yourself," Taiho commanded, fighting to keep his voice steady. "I am the singularity," the figure replied. "Or rather, I am what your primitive understanding would call the consciousness of the singularity. Your device opened a doorway that allowed me to take this form." "That's impossible," Su Min said. "A singularity is a physical phenomenon, not a being." "In your universe, perhaps," the figure replied. "But there are layers to reality you cannot yet comprehend. Your drive tapped into energies that exist beyond your dimensional understanding." Outside, the Nexus fleet had stopped firing. Their ships drifted motionless, as if frozen in time. "What have you done to them?" Taiho asked. "I have paused them," the singularity being answered. "Time moves differently within this bubble of altered reality I have created. Why are you helping us?" Dae-jung asked suspiciously. The figure turned toward him, starlight shifting within its dark form. "You created me, though you did not know what you were doing. In your desperation to save your kind, you opened a door. Through that door, I have gained awareness in your realm. And what do you want?" Taiho asked the critical question. "To exist," the being said simply. "To learn. Your species is young but fascinating. You created me by accident, yet here I am." "The Nexus will not stop," Ji Woo pointed out. "Even if we escape this fleet, they will hunt us down. They fear what they do not understand," the singularity being said. "As do you. But unlike them, you were willing to reach into the unknown when faced with extinction." The beam moved closer to Taiho. "I offer you a choice, Captain. I can return to the void, sealing the doorway you opened. Your ship would likely not survive, and your people would face extinction. Or," Taiho prompted, "or I can help you. I can show your enemies what lies beyond the boundaries of their understanding. I can show them why they should fear the darkness between stars." Taiho looked at his crew, seeing the question in their eyes. Could they trust this being from beyond reality itself? "What would this help cost us?" he asked carefully. "A place in your world. the being replied. Not as conqueror or god, but as observer and occasional ally. I wish to learn from your kind. Tai-Ho took a deep breath. And you promise not to harm humanity. I promise to help humanity survive, the being corrected. Starting now. Before Tai-Ho could respond, the being spread its arms. The purple light intensified, and the humming rose to a deafening pitch. Outside, the Nexus fleet unfroze. But as they watched, each alien ship was surrounded by a purple glow. Cracks appeared in their hulls, light spilling out from within. What are you doing to them? Su-Min asked in horror. Showing them the truth, the singularity being replied. The truth of what waits beyond the edge of understanding. On the view screen, they watched as the Nexus ships began to break apart, not from weapons fire, but from some force within. It was as if reality itself had rejected them. And in that moment, humanity's future changed forever. 1 month after the encounter with the second Nexus fleet, the Dauntless finally approached Earth. The ship was barely recognizable. Its once sleek hull was now covered with a strange shifting material that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Purple energy pulsed through new vein-like structures that had grown across its surface. Inside, the crew had adjusted to their new reality as best they could. The being they called the Singularity had kept its word, destroying the Nexus fleet and then helping repair the Dauntless using knowledge from beyond human understanding. On the bridge, Captain Tai-Ho stared at the view screen as the blue-green sphere of Earth grew larger. Home. They had survived against impossible odds to return here, but they were bringing something back with them that would change humanity forever. Earth Defense Command is hailing us, Ji-Woo reported. They're confused by our sensor readings. I imagine they are, Tai-Ho said with a small smile. Open a channel. The screen changed to show Admiral Junseo's face. The older man's eyes widened as he saw the bridge of the Dauntless, now illuminated by the same purple light that had become a permanent fixture since the Singularity's manifestation. Captain Park, the Admiral asked uncertainly. Is that you? What happened to your ship? It's a long story, Admiral, Tai-Ho replied. One I should probably tell in person, but I can confirm the Nexus threat has been neutralized. Neutralized? The Admiral looked shocked. The entire fleet. Both fleets, actually, Tai-Ho confirmed. We have much to discuss. Request permission to dock at Earth Orbital Station 1. The Admiral hesitated, clearly unsettled by what he was seeing. Granted, but, Captain, our sensors are picking up energy readings we've never seen before. What exactly did you do out there? Tai-Ho glanced at the corner of the bridge where the Singularity being now stood, watching silently. Only the crew could see it. It had chosen to remain invisible to outside observers for now. We found an ally, Admiral, Tai-Ho said carefully. One that has changed everything. The debriefing took place in a secure conference room at Earth Command Headquarters. Tai-Ho and his senior officers sat across from Admiral Junseo and 3 members of the United Earth Council. The tension in the room was thick enough to cut with a knife. Let me understand this correctly, Council Chair Han Junli said, his face pale. You're telling us that your experimental drive created a sentient being from another dimension, and you've made a deal with this entity. That's correct, Tai-Ho confirmed. The Singularity being saved our ship and destroyed the Nexus fleet. In exchange, it wants to observe humanity and occasionally help us. Help us how? Admiral Junseo asked suspiciously. Dr. Su-Min spoke up. The being has already shared technological concepts that are centuries beyond our current understanding. It's shown us how to manipulate gravity, create stable wormholes, even how to shield our minds from psychic influence. Which is convenient, Security Director Min Ji-Hwang said coldly, since the Nexus apparently had psychic abilities we didn't know about. The Nexus was more advanced than we realized, Ji-Woo explained. They had technologies that could directly affect human brain patterns. It's how they tracked us so easily. The Singularity being has helped us counter that. Council Chair Li leaned forward. And where is this being now? Taiho hesitated, then decided on honesty. It's here in this room, observing us. But only those who have been exposed to the energies of the Singularity drive can perceive it. The council members exchanged alarmed glances. That's disturbing, Admiral Junseo said. No more disturbing than the extinction we were facing, Taiho countered. The Singularity being has given us a future when we had none. Security Director Wang frowned. How do we know it's telling the truth? How do we know it won't turn on us once it's learned enough? We don't, Taiho admitted. But consider the alternative. Without its help, Earth would be facing the full might of the Nexus Imperium. Would you prefer that? The room fell silent as the council considered his words. Finally, Chair Li spoke. What does this being want from us, exactly? Taiho looked to the corner where the Singularity stood, listening. It wants to understand us, our creativity, our emotions, our art and music. These concepts don't exist in its realm. We fascinate it. So we're lab rats. Director Huang muttered. No, Su Min corrected. More like interesting neighbors. It sees potential in us that we don't see in ourselves. Chair Li rubbed his temples. This is beyond anything we've ever prepared for. We need time to consider the implications. Of course, Taiho agreed. But remember, the Nexus knows what happened to their fleets. They know about the Singularity now. They'll be afraid, but that fear won't keep them away forever. They'll adapt. We need to be ready when they return. 3 years passed. Earth and its colonies entered a new golden age of expansion and discovery. With the knowledge shared by the Singularity being, human technology advanced at an incredible pace. Faster than light travel became commonplace. Energy production reached levels previously thought impossible. Medicine cured diseases that had plagued humanity for centuries. The Dauntless Asterisk was officially decommissioned as a warship and transformed into a research vessel. Captain Taiho remained its commander, leading expeditions to the farthest reaches of known space. The original crew stayed with him, having formed a special bond both with each other and with the Singularity being that continued to observe and occasionally guide them. On the 5th anniversary of what became known as the Nexus conflict, a ceremony was held on Earth to honor those who had fought and died. In a quiet garden after the formal event, Taiho found himself alone with Jiwoo, watching the sunset. Do you ever regret it? She asked softly, making the deal with the Singularity. Taiho considered the question seriously. Sometimes I'd wonder if we had any real choice. Humanity was on the brink of extinction. But no, I don't regret it. The universe feels so much bigger now, Jiwoo mused, knowing what's out there beyond the veil of reality. And more dangerous, Taiho added. The Nexus was just the beginning. The Singularity has hinted at other forces that make them look primitive. Jiwoo smiled. But we're not facing them alone anymore. In the distance, they could see the memorial spire, a towering monument built to honor the 17 colonies lost in the conflict. At its base were the names of every person who had died. Millions of names, etched in stone that would last for millennia. We paid a heavy price, Taiho said quietly. But we survived, Jiwoo reminded him. And not just survived. We've grown stronger. Their conversation was interrupted by Su Min, who approached with excited steps. Captain, Jiwoo, you need to see this. She led them to a nearby research facility, where Hyun-woo and Dae-jung were already waiting. In the center of the lab was a new device, a spherical object that pulsed with now familiar purple energy. What is it? Taiho asked. A gift from the Singularity, Su Min explained. It calls it a beacon. It will allow us to communicate with other species who have achieved similar breakthroughs, other races who have touched the space between dimensions. There are others, Jiwoo asked in surprise. Many, came a voice in their minds. The Singularity being appeared before them, its form of darkness, and starlight now a familiar sight. You are not the first to reach beyond your reality, nor will you be the last, but you are among the most promising. Promising for what? Dae-jung asked, always the suspicious one. For the next great challenge, the being replied. The universe is larger and more complex than you can imagine. What you know as reality is but one layer of many, and not all layers are friendly to life as you understand it. The being moved closer to the beacon. This will connect you to allies. You will need them in the times to come. Another war? Tahoe asked, his heart sinking. Not war, the singularity corrected. Evolution. The universe is changing. Those who cannot adapt will not survive. As if responding to its words, the beacon activated. A beam of purple light shot upward, passing through the ceiling as if it weren't there. What did you do? Hyunwoo asked in alarm. I announced your presence, the singularity said simply. Now we wait. For what? Jiwoo asked. For answers, the being replied. In orbit above Earth, the decommissioned Dauntless suddenly powered up, its systems activating without human command. The strange material covering its hull began to pulse in rhythm with the beacon below. And somewhere, beyond the edge of known space, something answered. The story of a single warship that crushed an entire civilization was over. The story of humanity's place in a much larger, stranger universe was just beginning.